In a Seattle residential neighborhood where autumn winds caressed her cheeks, Rachel Harrison was desperately trying to adapt to her new life. Married life was vastly different from what she had imagined. Everything had become complicated with the presence of 5-year-old Emma, her stepdaughter. Rachel had worked for years as a medical clerk at the local general hospital. Though she had a regular routine and stable income, she hadn't been blessed in love, and after a doctor told her it would be difficult to have children, her dreams of marriage had faded. Her life changed last spring. She met Michael Harrison, a pharmaceutical company sales manager, during a business meeting at the hospital. With his calm demeanor and warm smile, he captured Rachel's heart in an instant. When she learned that Michael was a single man who had recently lost his wife to illness and was raising a young daughter alone, Rachel naturally wanted to support him. Their courtship was brief. Michael said, "Emma needs a mother," and Rachel felt that, even though I can't have children, I might be able to become her mother. The wedding was held in a small church with only family members present. Emma looked adorable in her white dress, walking down the aisle carrying a bouquet. 3 months after the marriage and 2 months since she began living with Emma, Rachel couldn't hide her confusion. Emma was an angel-like little girl with beautiful blonde hair and large blue eyes, but she always seemed to keep her distance from Rachel. "Good morning, Emma," Rachel called out cheerfully at the breakfast table. Emma only replied with a small, "Good morning," and wouldn't make eye contact. She didn't touch the pancakes Rachel had made, only sipping a little orange juice. "Emma, eat a little more," Michael said, looking up from his newspaper. However, his voice contained a harshness that made Emma shrink even further. "It's okay, Emma. You don't have to force yourself," Rachel smiled gently, but Emma shook her head and left her seat. Michael sighed. "I'm sorry, Rachel. Emma still hasn't gotten used to the change in environment. She was accustomed to the food my previous wife made, so she might be confused by the new flavors." Michael didn't like to talk much about his former wife. Other than explaining that she died suddenly from illness, he wouldn't share any details. Rachel thought it wouldn't be good to bring up painful memories, so she didn't probe deeper. "I wonder if my cooking doesn't suit her taste," Rachel became anxious. While working her medical clerk job, she had bought cookbooks and researched menus that children might enjoy. However, Emma's reaction seemed to grow colder with each passing day. "Time will solve it," Michael placed his hand on Rachel's shoulder before leaving for work. "Emma will come to accept you. You're very kind, and you'll surely make a good mother." Though Rachel was encouraged by those words, she harbored anxiety deep in her heart. When she saw Emma's small hands trembling, when she noticed what seemed like fear shadowing her eyes, she felt an indescribable uneasiness. In the evening, after returning from work, Rachel went to pick up Emma from daycare. She felt slightly relieved seeing Emma playing happily with other children. However, the moment Emma spotted Rachel, her expression clouded. "What did you play today?" Rachel tried to make conversation in the car, but Emma just stared out the window. That night too, Emma barely touched her dinner. The child-friendly spaghetti Rachel had made, the small salad, the homemade cookies, everything remained untouched. "Emma, are you feeling sick somewhere?" Rachel knelt down to Emma's eye level, worried. Emma shook her head. "Sorry, Mama. I'm not hungry." Hearing those words made Rachel's chest tighten. She was happy that Emma called her Mama, but at the same time, she couldn't shake the feeling that the child was enduring something. Perhaps she was still thinking about her deceased mother and couldn't accept a new mother. Rachel wanted to open Emma's heart, even if it took time. Emma's food refusal became more serious with each passing day. Rachel, who initially thought it was just pickiness, gradually became more worried. Days continued when Emma wouldn't take a single bite of breakfast pancakes, and the daycare reported that she left most of her lunch untouched. "Emma, you left your lunch again today," the daycare teacher spoke to Rachel. "Does she have any food she particularly dislikes?" Rachel was puzzled. "I haven't heard of any specific dislikes. She doesn't want to eat much at home either. The environment has just changed for her. I'm sure time will solve it, the teacher smiled kindly, but Rachel's anxiety only increased. That night, Rachel consulted Michael about Emma's condition. She hasn't eaten properly for over a week now. She'll make herself sick at this rate. Michael remained seated on the sofa, not taking his eyes off the television. You're being too neurotic, Rachel. Children are like that. When she gets hungry, she'll naturally start eating. But, Michael, Rachel was about to raise her voice when she heard Emma's small footsteps from the bedroom and held her tongue. Mama, I want some water. Emma appeared in the living room wearing her pajamas. Rachel quickly stood up and poured mineral water into a glass from the refrigerator. Emma's hands trembled slightly as she took the glass, but Michael didn't seem to notice. The next day, Rachel left work early and took Emma to a pediatrician. While other children ran around energetically in the waiting room, Emma sat quietly on her mother's lap. Emma, does anything hurt? A young female doctor asked gently. Emma only shook her head and wouldn't speak. The examination revealed no physical abnormalities. Her weight is slightly below average, but it's not a serious condition, the doctor explained. It might be stress from adapting to a new environment. Children can have complex emotions about relationships with stepmothers too. But I love her, Rachel pleaded desperately. I think of her as precious as my own daughter. I think that comes through. The doctor placed her hand on Rachel's shoulder. But a mother's death is a major trauma for a child. There might be unconscious resistance to accepting a new mother. If you take time to gradually build a trusting relationship, it will be fine. When they returned home, Michael was already there. What did the doctor say? No physical problems. It's stress from the change in environment, Rachel reported. Michael looked relieved. That's good then. You were worrying too much after all. However, that night Emma refused dinner again. The chicken rice Rachel had made with love, the corn soup that seemed like something Emma would like, everything remained untouched. Emma, please try just one bite, Rachel pleaded, and Emma shook her head with tears in her eyes. Sorry, Mama. I'm really not hungry. At that moment, Michael suddenly raised his voice. Enough, Emma. Rachel made this especially for you. Emma clung to her chair in fear. Rachel was also startled by Michael's shouting. It was the first time she had seen Michael get so violently angry since their marriage. Michael, calm down, Rachel placed her hand on his arm. Shouting will only make it harder for her to eat. Michael took a deep breath and lowered his tone. Sorry. But it's not good to waste Rachel's cooking. Afterwards, Michael sat Emma on his lap and spoke to her. Emma, don't you want to eat because it's different from Daddy's cooking? Emma nodded slightly. Is Mama's cooking different? When Michael asked, Emma nodded again. Rachel's chest ached. Can you tell me what kind of food you'd like? I'll make anything. However, Emma didn't answer. She just buried her face in Michael's chest and sobbed quietly. From the next day, Rachel desperately began researching cooking. She borrowed children's cookbooks from the library and searched for various recipes on the internet. When she asked Michael about his former wife's specialty dishes, she only got vague answers like, I don't remember, or, it was ordinary home cooking. Rachel spent time carefully selecting ingredients at the supermarket and tried different menus every day. Hamburgers that children would like, homemade pizza, pasta, omelette rice. She made dish after dish that looked cute and was nutritionally balanced. However, Emma's reaction didn't change. No matter how delicious the food looked, Emma would say, sorry, Mama, and refuse to eat. A week later, Rachel was exhausted. Days of getting up early to make lunch boxes and trying new recipes after returning from work. Still, Emma never ate what she made. Maybe my cooking really is terrible, Rachel consulted her workplace colleague. That's not true, her colleague Sarah encouraged her. The cookies you brought the other day were very delicious. I'm sure time will solve it. However, time didn't bring a solution. Rather, Emma's condition got even worse. Her complexion became pale, and she became even more silent than before. The daycare teacher also contacted them with concern, saying, "She seems to lack energy lately." One night, Rachel was alone in the kitchen crying. Today too, Emma hadn't taken a single bite of dinner. The meatloaf made with love, the mashed potatoes that seemed like something she'd like, everything had gone to waste. What's wrong? Rachel asked herself. What's bad about me? Michael came to the kitchen and gently patted Rachel's back. Don't cry, Rachel. But, Michael, Rachel turned around. I don't know what to do. Even though I make new dishes every day, Emma won't eat anything. I'm so worried about her at this rate. Michael sighed. Rachel, you're trying more than enough. But Emma isn't used to your cooking. It's completely different from my previous wife's cooking. How is it different? Tell me, Rachel pleaded desperately. What kind of cooking did your former wife make? Michael thought for a moment before answering. It was simple cooking. She didn't make anything too elaborate. Emma is used to those kinds of flavors. Then I'll try making it simpler, Rachel found hope. Starting tomorrow, I'll try making more rustic dishes. However, the simple salt rice balls and miso soup she made the next day, Emma didn't eat either. The plain udon the day after that, and the bread and milk the day after that, all had the same result. Emma continued saying, Sorry, Mama. I'm not hungry. And seeing Emma repeat those words every night, Rachel's heart was gradually breaking. After 2 weeks had passed, Michael's attitude also began to change. Rachel, isn't there a problem with your cooking? He said suddenly one night. Emma never refused to eat like this before. Those words pierced deep into Rachel's heart. I'm doing my best in my own way. But you're not getting results, Michael's voice was cold. Can't you make cooking more like my previous wife's? But you don't tell me about your former wife's cooking, Rachel's voice became tearful. What kind of seasonings she liked, what ingredients she used, you don't tell me anything. Michael fell silent. Then, after a while, he said, It's painful to remember. But for Emma's sake, it can't be helped. That night, Rachel pondered alone. Was her cooking really that bad? Or was Emma still thinking about her deceased mother and unable to accept a new mother's cooking? Either way, she was worried about Emma's health at this rate. Michael left for a 3-day business trip on Friday morning. He was scheduled to visit regional branches of the pharmaceutical company and wouldn't return until Monday night. Rachel was secretly relieved. Michael had been in a bad mood lately and often blamed Rachel for Emma's eating problems. Take care, Rachel saw Michael off at the front door. He pulled his suitcase along and got in the car without looking back. Emma watched her father's car from the window, but when the car disappeared from view, she showed what seemed like a relieved expression. Rachel noticed this change but didn't have time to think deeply about it. Today was the first weekend in a long time that she could spend alone with Emma. Emma, what would you like to do today? Rachel asked brightly. Emma thought for a moment, then answered in a small voice, I want to go to the park. It was the first time since the marriage that Emma had expressed a wish of her own. Rachel's heart leaped. Of course. I'll make a lunch too, and we'll have a picnic. In the morning, they spent time at the nearby park. Emma showed a smile for the first time in a long while, riding the swings and playing on the slide. She even took a little bite of the sandwiches Rachel had made. Is it good? Rachel asked, and Emma nodded slightly. I like Mama's sandwiches. Hearing those words, Rachel almost cried. It was the first time in weeks she had heard Emma say something was good. That evening, after returning home, Emma's demeanor was clearly different. She was more active than usual and wanted to help Rachel. Even while preparing dinner, she brought a small chair and stood next to Rachel in the kitchen. Emma will help too. Thank you. Could you wash these vegetables for me? Emma diligently washed the tomatoes and lettuce. Watching her, Rachel felt happy. This might be what real parent-child time is like, she thought. However, when dinner time came, Emma's expression clouded again. She stared at the food Rachel had plated, her hand holding the fork trembling. Emma, are you okay? Rachel became worried. Emma shook her head. Sorry, Mama. I'm not hungry after all. But you ate the sandwiches at the park. Rachel was confused. Is something different? Emma didn't answer. She just looked at Rachel with tears in her eyes. In those eyes was a complex emotion, as if she wanted to say something but couldn't. That night, after putting Emma to bed, Rachel sat alone in the living room. Today she had finally spent enjoyable time with Emma, but in the end, dinner was refused again. Why did Emma seem better when Michael wasn't around? After 10 p.m., she heard small footsteps from the bedroom. Emma appeared in the living room in her pajamas. Mama, Emma's voice was trembling. What's wrong, Emma? Can't you sleep? Rachel quickly stood up. Emma shook her head. Then she slowly walked toward Rachel. At that moment, Rachel noticed that Emma's condition was completely different from usual. Emma's body was trembling slightly, her face was pale, as if she was frightened of something. Mama, Emma called again. I can only talk when Daddy isn't watching. Rachel's heart began beating rapidly. What do you want to talk about? Emma looked around, confirmed that Michael really wasn't there, then approached Rachel. She grabbed Rachel's clothes with her small hands. Mama, there's something I have to tell you. Rachel knelt down to Emma's eye level. You can talk about anything. You don't have to be afraid. Large tears spilled from Emma's eyes. The previous mama also stopped eating food. And then. Emma's voice trembled and she couldn't continue. Rachel gently rubbed Emma's back. Take your time. Talk at your own pace. After a while, Emma opened her mouth as if she had made up her mind. The previous mama ate food at first too. But gradually she stopped eating. Daddy got angry. He said, "Why won't you eat?" Rachel's blood froze. Then, Daddy started mixing white powder into the previous mama's food. Emma saw it. Daddy said it was medicine, but... Medicine? Rachel's voice was shaking. Emma nodded. After that, the previous mama stopped eating even more and was always sleepy. And then... Emma choked on her words. Rachel prepared herself mentally and asked, and then what happened? The previous mama died. Emma's voice was trembling. Daddy said she died from illness, but Emma knows. After Daddy mixed the white powder, the previous mama became strange. Rachel's world collapsed in an instant. Michael's former wife didn't die from illness. He had been mixing some kind of drug into her food. Emma, Rachel asked in a trembling voice, so you're afraid to eat my cooking? Emma nodded vigorously. I'm scared the new mama will become the same way. Daddy might mix white powder into the new mama's food too. So Emma doesn't eat food. I want to protect the new mama. Rachel was stunned. Emma wasn't rejecting her. She was trying to protect her. A 5-year-old girl had been desperately refusing food to protect her stepmother. Emma, you were trying to protect me. Emma nodded while crying. But I'm tired now. I want the new mama to know the truth. Daddy is a bad person. Rachel hugged the trembling Emma. Emma, thank you for telling me. You're truly a brave child. But if Daddy finds out, he'll get angry. Emma trembled with fear. Daddy is very scary. He always yelled at the previous mama too. All the puzzle pieces connected in Rachel's mind. Michael's sudden anger, his reluctance to talk about his former wife in detail, Emma's fear, and the reason for her food refusal. Everything pointed to one horrifying truth. "Emma, you're safe. I'll protect you." Rachel stood up. "I'm going to make a phone call." "To who?" Emma asked anxiously. "The police," Rachel answered without hesitation. "We have to tell them everything before Daddy comes back." A light of hope appeared in Emma's eyes. "Really? Will the new mama believe me?" "Of course. You're not lying. And what you did was very brave." Rachel reached for the phone. Her hand was trembling, but her mind was made up. From the moment she heard Emma's confession, it was clear what needed to be done. Michael was a dangerous man. And before he returned on Monday, everything had to be revealed. Emma was beside her mother, showing a relieved expression for the first time. The police arrived 40 minutes after Rachel's call. Despite it being late at night, 2 detectives responded quickly. There was Detective Johnson, an older man, and Detective Rodriguez, a young woman. "Mrs. Harrison, please calmly explain the situation to us," Detective Johnson asked in a gentle tone. Rachel began explaining in a trembling voice while holding Emma on her lap. "My stepdaughter Emma wants to testify about the death of my husband's former wife. I was told that his former wife died from illness, but actually my husband was mixing drugs into her food." Detective Rodriguez knelt down to Emma's eye level. "Emma, you don't have to be afraid. Can you tell us what you saw?" Emma hesitated at first, but with Rachel's encouragement, she gathered her courage again. "Daddy put white powder in the previous mama's food. Every day. The previous mama gradually became sleepy and couldn't walk." "Where did he get that white powder from?" Detective Johnson asked. "From Daddy's room. He took small bags out of his desk drawer." Emma showed the size with her thin fingers. "It was in small bags like this." The detectives looked at each other. "Emma, can you show us that room?" "The room at the very back of the second floor." "Daddy's study," Emma pointed. "He always locks it, but it might be open today." "Because Daddy isn't here." Detective Johnson contacted headquarters on his radio. "Rush the application for a search warrant. We have a suspected murder." Early the next morning, a search team with a warrant arrived. Rachel and Emma were advised to temporarily evacuate to relatives' homes, but Rachel insisted on seeing everything through, and they decided to wait at a nearby hotel. At 10 a.m., Detective Johnson called. "There's something we'd like to discuss immediately. We'll come to the hotel." When the detective arrived, his expression was serious. "Mrs. Harrison, Emma's testimony appears to be correct. Large quantities of prescription drugs were found in Michael Harrison's study." Rachel's heart pounded violently. "What kind of drugs?" "Mainly powerful sleeping pills and tranquilizers. Amounts far exceeding normal prescriptions were stored," Detective Rodriguez explained. "He likely obtained them illegally by abusing his position as a pharmaceutical company sales representative." "That's not all," Detective Johnson continued in a heavy tone. "Jennifer Harrison's diary was found in a hidden safe." Rachel gasped. It was the first time she had heard the former wife's name. The diary's contents were shocking. In the later period of their marriage, Jennifer recorded in detail the psychological abuse from her husband. And in the last few months, she wrote about feeling abnormal drowsiness and consciousness disorders after meals. The detective took out several copies from a file. "Let me read some excerpts. Michael has been making my meals more often. After eating, I always become abnormally sleepy. My body feels heavy and I can't move. Emma looks at me with worry. This child might know something. If something happens to me, please protect Emma." Rachel couldn't stop crying. Jennifer understood what was happening to her. And until the end, she was worried about her daughter. There was another important discovery, Detective Rodriguez continued. Correspondence with life insurance companies was found on Michael's computer. Jennifer's death benefit was $500,000. And there were records of significantly increasing the insurance amount just before marriage. So it was a premeditated crime? Rachel asked in a trembling voice. That possibility is high. Furthermore, it was discovered that he had taken out similar life insurance for you. Shortly after marriage, he had taken out high-value insurance with you as the beneficiary. Rachel's body shook with fear. She was supposed to meet the same fate. Without Emma, she might have unknowingly been given drugs and walked the same path as Jennifer. Without Emma's courageous testimony, there might have been a second victim. Detective Johnson gently patted Emma's head. Emma asked in a small voice, "The previous mama wasn't really sick?" "No, Emma. Your mother wasn't sick. Your father did bad things to your mother," Detective Rodriguez explained gently. "But because you told Rachel the truth, we were able to stop the bad things. Are you going to catch Daddy?" Emma's voice mixed fear and expectation. "Yes. Michael Harrison will be arrested on suspicion of murder. As soon as he returns from his business trip, we plan to take him into custody." At that moment, Rachel's cell phone rang. It was from Michael. Rachel looked at the detectives for instructions. "Answer normally. Pretend you don't know anything yet," Detective Johnson instructed. "Hello, Michael." Rachel tried to maintain composure. "Rachel, how is Emma? Is she eating?" Michael's voice was cold as usual. "Same as before. She's still not eating much," Rachel lied. "I see. I'll be back tomorrow night. Do something about it by then." After the call ended, Rachel sighed with relief. Michael didn't suspect anything. "He says he'll be back tomorrow night," Rachel reported. "Understood. We'll wait at the airport," Detective Johnson nodded. "Until then, please stay somewhere safe." That evening, local news reported Michael Harrison's arrest. The headline, "Pharmaceutical Company Sales Manager Arrested on Suspicion of Wife's Murder," appeared on screen. Rachel sat on the hotel bed with Emma, watching the news. Emma had a complex expression. "Emma, how do you feel?" Rachel asked gently. "I was scared of Daddy, but he was still family," Emma teared up. "But when I remember the previous mama, I think Daddy is a bad person." "Emma, you did nothing wrong," Rachel hugged Emma. "You were very brave and did the right thing. The previous mama would surely be proud of you too." "Does the new mama hate Emma now?" Emma asked anxiously. "Not at all," Rachel shook her head firmly. "You saved my life. And you revealed the truth about the previous mama too. I love you from the bottom of my heart, and I want to be with you forever." Emma showed a genuine smile for the first time. "Really? Really? We're a real family." That night, Emma slept soundly for the first time in a long while. Released from the secrets and fears she had carried for so long, she could finally sleep peacefully. Michael Harrison's trial attracted great attention locally. Charged with illegal drug acquisition by abusing his position at the pharmaceutical company, continuous drug administration to his former wife, and premeditated murder for insurance money, he continued to deny all charges. However, faced with Emma's testimony, Jennifer's diary, and physical evidence, the jury's verdict was clear. "We sentence defendant Michael Harrison to life imprisonment for first-degree murder." On the day of sentencing, Rachel sat in the gallery holding Emma's hand. Emma was nervous but bravely stood at the witness stand until the end, continuing to tell the truth. When the verdict was read, Emma sighed quietly. "Is it over now?" Emma looked up at Rachel. "Yes, it's over," Rachel smiled gently. "You don't have to be afraid anymore." During the trial process, Rachel had been proceeding with procedures to become Emma's legal guardian. Michael's parents had already passed away, and Jennifer's parents were elderly and unable to provide care. Most importantly, Emma herself strongly wanted to be with Rachel. "I want to be with Rachel, Mama," Emma repeatedly told the family court investigator. 6 months later, the formal adoption was completed. That day, Rachel and Emma made a small celebratory meal together. For the first time since Emma had begun refusing food, they enjoyed cooking together. "What would you like to make today?" Rachel asked, and Emma thought carefully. "I want to eat the real hamburgers that the previous mama made for me," Emma said. The delicious hamburgers she made before Daddy came. Rachel's heart warmed. Emma was recovering her mother's true memories. The happy memories from before she was dominated by fear. The hamburgers they made together weren't perfect. The shapes were a little uneven, and the vegetables were irregular. However, Emma opened her mouth wide and bit into it deliciously. "It's delicious." Emma's face lit up. "Rachel Mama's hamburgers are the most delicious in the world." Hearing those words, Rachel almost cried. For months, she hadn't been able to hear Emma say something was delicious. But now, Emma was enjoying her meal while laughing from her heart. "Emma, your stomach doesn't hurt anymore?" Rachel asked just to be sure. "No, not at all," Emma shook her head. "Because Rachel Mama doesn't put bad things in. Rachel Mama is kind." That night, while putting Emma to bed, Rachel reflected on the past. When she married Michael, she thought it might be difficult to become Emma's mother because she couldn't have children. However, blood relations didn't matter. Emma had taught her that love and trust are what create a real family. "Rachel Mama," Emma murmured before falling asleep. "Thank you for protecting me." "I should thank you," Rachel kissed Emma's forehead. "If you hadn't told me the truth, I might have ended up like the previous mama. You saved me." "We protected each other," Emma smiled with satisfaction. Now, Emma is 8 years old. She goes to school energetically and has made many friends. Mealtime has become the most enjoyable time for both of them, and trying new recipes together has become their weekend tradition. Sometimes, Emma talks about her previous mother. "I think the previous mama is happy too," she says while looking up at the sky. Rachel believes that Jennifer would surely be glad to know her daughter is living happily. And most importantly, Emma has come to enjoy every meal. "Rachel Mama's food is delicious because it's full of love," has become Emma's favorite saying. Their new family is bound together not by blood relations, but by true love and trust. It's a strong bond that can overcome any difficulty.